The Vimalakirti Sutra Ch.11 The Bodhisattva Conduct. The Buddha was expounding the Dharma at Amravana Park, which suddenly became majestic and extensive, while all those present turned golden-hued. Ananda asked the Buddha,
World-honored one, what is the cause of these auspicious signs? Why does this place become extensive and majestic, and why does the assembly turn golden-hued?
The Buddha replied, This is because Vimalakirti and Manjushri, with their followers circumambulating them, want to come here. Hence, these auspicious signs. At Vaisali, Vimalakirti said to Manjushri, We can now go and see the Buddha, so that we and the Bodhisattvas can pay reverence and make offerings to him. Manjushri said,
Excellent, let us go. It is now time to start.
Vimalakirti then used his transcendental powers to carry the whole meeting with the lions' thrones on the palm of his right hand and flew in the air to the Buddha's place. When they landed there, Vimalakirti bowed his head at his feet, walked around him from the right 7 times, and bringing his palms together, stood at one side. The Bodhisattvas left their lion thrones to bow their heads at his feet, and also walked around him 7 times and stood at one side. The Buddha's chief disciples, with Indra, Brahma, both as protectors of the Dharma, and the 4 Deva kings of the 4 heavens, also left their lion thrones, bowed their heads at his feet, walked around him 7 times, and then stood at one side. The Buddha comforted the Bodhisattvas and ordered them to take their seats to listen to his teaching. After they had sat down, the Buddha asked Sariputra, Have you seen what the great Bodhisattvas have done with their transcendental powers? Sariputra replied that he had. And he asked, What do you think of all this? Sariputra answered,
I saw them do inconceivable feats, which the mind can neither think of nor estimate.
Ananda then asked the Buddha,
World-honored one, the fragrance we are smelling was never perceived before. What is it?
The Buddha replied, Ananda, it is the fragrance given out by the pores of these Bodhisattvas. At that, Sariputra said to Ananda,
Our pores also give the same fragrance.
Ananda asked Sariputra,
Where does it come from?
Sariputra replied,
It is this Upasaka Vimalakirti who obtained what was left over from the Buddha's meal in the fragrance land, and those who ate it at his abode give out this fragrance from their pores.
Ananda then asked Vimalakirti,
How long does this fragrance last?
Vimalakirti replied, It lasts until the rice has been digested. Ananda asked,
How long does this take?
Vimalakirti replied, It will be digested after a week. Ananda, Shravakas who have not reached the right position, that is, nirvana, will attain it after taking this rice, which will then be digestible. And those who have attained nirvana will realize liberation of their minds from the subtle conception of nirvana, and then the rice will be digested. Those who have not developed the Mahayana mind will develop it, and then the rice will be digested. Those who have developed it and take this rice will achieve the patient endurance of the uncreate, and the rice will then be digestible. Those who have achieved the patient endurance of the uncreate and take this rice will reincarnate once more for final development into Buddhahood, and the rice will be digested. Like an efficacious medicine which cures an ailment before wasting away, this rice will be digestible after it has killed all troubles and afflictions, or klesha. Ananda said to the Buddha,
World-honored one, it is indeed a rare thing that this fragrant rice performs the Buddha work of salvation.
The Buddha said, It is so, Ananda, it is so. There are Buddha lands where the Buddha light performs the work of salvation, where the Bodhisattvas perform it, where illusory men created by the Buddha do it, where the bo trees do it, where the Buddha's robe and bedding do it, where the rice taken by the Buddha does it, where parks and temples do it, where the Buddha's 32 physical marks and their 80 notable characteristics do it, where the Buddha's body or Rupakaya does it, and where empty space does it, and living beings practice discipline with success because of these causes. Also used for the same purpose are dream, illusion, shadow, echo, the image in a mirror, the moon reflected in water, the flame of a fire, sound, voice, word, speech and writing, the pure and clean Buddha land, silence with neither word nor speech, neither pointing, discerning, action, nor activity. Thus, Ananda, whatever the Buddhas do, by either revealing or concealing their awe-inspiring majesty, is the work of salvation. Ananda, because of the 4 basic delusions in reference to the ego, divided into 84,000 defilements, which cause living beings to endure troubles and tribulations, the Buddhas avail themselves of these trials to perform their works of salvation. This is called entering the Buddha's Dharma door to enlightenment, or Dharma Paryaya. When entering this Dharma door, if a bodhisattva sees all the clean Buddha lands, he should not give rise to joy, desire, and pride. And if he sees all the unclean Buddha lands, he should not give rise to sadness, hindrance, and disappointment. He should develop a pure and clean mind to revere all Tathagatas who rarely appear and whose merits are equal in spite of their appearance in different lands, clean and unclean, to teach and convert living beings. Ananda, you can see different Buddha lands, that is, clean and unclean, but you see no difference in space, which is the same everywhere. Likewise, the physical bodies of Buddhas differ from one another, but their omniscience is the same. Ananda, the underlying nature of the physical bodies of the Buddhas, their discipline, serenity, liberation, and full knowledge of liberation, their 10 powers, their 4 fearlessnesses, their 18 unsurpassed characteristics, their boundless kindness and compassion, their dignified deeds, their infinite lives, their preaching of the Dharma to teach and convert living beings and to purify Buddha lands are all the same. Hence their titles of Samyak Sambuddha, Tathagata, and Buddha. Ananda, if I am to give you the full meaning of these 3 titles, you will pass the whole eon without being able to hear it completely. Even if the great Chilakasm is full of living beings who are all good listeners and, like you, can hold in memory everything they hear about the Dharma, they will also pass the whole eon without being able to hear my full explanation of these 3 titles. For, Ananda, the Buddha's supreme enlightenment is boundless, and his wisdom and power of speech are inconceivable. Ananda said,
From now on, I dare no more claim to have heard much of the Dharma.
The Buddha said, Ananda, do not give way to backsliding. Why? Because I have said that you have heard much more about the Dharma than the Shravakas, but not than the Bodhisattvas. Ananda, a wise man should not make a limited estimate of the Bodhisattva stage, because the depths of the ocean can be measured, but the Bodhisattva's serenity, wisdom, imperturbability, power of speech, and all his merits cannot be measured. Ananda, let us put aside the Bodhisattva conduct. The transcendental powers which Vimalakirti has demonstrated today cannot be achieved by all Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas using their spiritual powers for hundreds and thousands of eons. Thereat, the visiting Bodhisattvas put their palms together and said to the Buddha,
World-honored one, when we first saw this world, we thought of its inferiority, but now we repent of our wrong opinion. Why? Because the expedients, upaya, employed by all Buddhas are inconceivable. their aim being to deliver living beings. They appear in different Buddha lands suitable for the purpose. World-honored one, will you please bestow upon us some little Dharma, so that when we return to our own land, we can always remember you.
The Buddha said to them, "There are the exhaustible and the inexhaustible dharmas, which you should study. What is the exhaustible? It is the active or mundane dharma. What is the inexhaustible? It is the non-active or supramundane dharma. As bodhisattvas, you should not exhaust or put an end to the mundane state, nor should you stay in the supramundane state. What is meant by not exhausting the mundane state? It means not discarding great benevolence, not abandoning great compassion, developing a profound mind set on the quest of all knowledge, or Buddha knowledge, without relaxing for even an instant, indefatigable teaching and converting living beings, constant practice of the four bodhisattva winning methods, upholding the right dharma, even at the risk of one's body and life, unwearied planting of all excellent roots, unceasing application of expedient devices or upaya, and dedication or parinamana, never-ending quest of the Dharma, unsparing preaching of it, diligent worship of all Buddhas, hence fearlessness when entering the stream of birth and death, absence of joy in honor and of sadness in disgrace, refraining from slighting non-practicers of the Dharma, respecting practicers of Dharma as if they were Buddhas, helping those suffering from klesha to develop the right thought, keeping away from desire and pleasure with no idea of prizing such a high conduct, no preference for one's happiness, but joy at that of others, regarding one's experience in the state of samadhi as similar to that in a hell, considering one's stay in samsara, that is, state of birth and death, as similar to a stroll in a park, giving rise to the thought of being a good teacher of the Dharma when meeting those seeking it, giving away all possessions to realize all knowledge, giving rise to the thought of salvation when seeing those breaking the precepts, thinking of the 6 perfections or paramitas as dear as one's parents, thinking of the 37 conditions contributory to enlightenment as if they were one's helpful relatives, planting all excellent roots without any restrictions, gathering the glorious adornments of all pure lands to set up one's own Buddha land, unrestricted bestowal of Dharma to win all the excellent physical marks of the Buddha, wiping out all evils to purify one's body, mouth, and mind, developing undiminished bravery while transmigrating through samsara in countless eons, untiring determination to listen to an account of the Buddha's countless merits, using the sword of wisdom to destroy the bandits of klesha, to take living beings out of the realm of the 5 aggregates and 12 entrances so as to liberate them forever, using firm devotion to destroy the army of demons, unceasing search for the thought-free wisdom of reality, content with few desires while not running away from the world in order to continue the bodhisattva work of salvation, not infringing the rules of respect-inspiring deportment while entering the world to deliver living beings, use of the transcendental power derived from wisdom to guide and lead all living beings, controlling the thinking process in order never to forget the Dharma, being aware of the roots of all living beings in order to cut off their doubts and suspicions about their underlying nature, use of the power of speech to preach the Dharma without impediment, perfecting the 10 good deeds to win the blessings of men and devas in order to be reborn among them to spread the Dharma, practicing the four infinite minds, namely kindness, pity, joy, and indifference, to teach the Brahma heavens. Rejoicing at being invited to expound and extol the Dharma in order to win the Buddha's skillful method of preaching. Realizing excellence of body, mouth, and mind to win the Buddha's respect-inspiring deportment. Profound practice of good Dharma to make one's deeds unsurpassed. Practicing Mahayana to become a Bodhisattva monk. And developing an ever-receding mind in order not to miss all excellent merits. This is the Bodhisattva not exhausting the mundane state. What is the Bodhisattva not staying in the supramundane state or nirvana? It means studying and practicing the immaterial but without abiding in voidness. Studying and practicing formlessness and inaction but without abiding in them. Studying and practicing that which is beyond causes, but without remaining in it. Looking into impermanence without discarding the roots of good causation. Looking into suffering in the world without hating birth and death, that is, samsara. Looking into the absence of the ego while continuing to teach all living beings indefatigably. Looking into nirvana with no intention of dwelling in it permanently. Looking into the relinquishment of nirvana while one's body and mind are set on the practice of all good deeds. Looking into the non-existing destinations of all things while the mind is set on practicing excellent actions as true destinations. Looking into the unborn, that is, the uncreate, while abiding in the illusion of life to shoulder responsibility to save others. Looking into passionlessness without cutting off the passion stream in order to stay in the world to liberate others. Looking into the state of non-action while carrying out the Dharma to teach and convert living beings. Looking into nothingness without forgetting about great compassion. Looking into the right position, that is, nirvana, without following the Hinayana habit of staying in it. Looking into the unreality of all phenomena, which are neither firm nor have an independent nature, and are egoless and formless. But since one's own fundamental vows are not entirely fulfilled, one should not regard merits, serenity, and wisdom as unreal, and so cease practicing them. This is the Bodhisattva not staying in the non-active state. Further, to win merits, a Bodhisattva does not stay in the supramundane, and to realize wisdom, he does not exhaust the mundane. Because of his great kindness and compassion, he does not remain in the supramundane, and in order to fulfill all his vows, he does not exhaust the mundane. To gather the Dharma medicines, he does not stay in the supramundane, and to administer remedies, he does not exhaust the mundane. Since he knows the illnesses of all living beings, he does not stay in the supramundane, and since he wants to cure their illnesses, he does not exhaust the mundane. Virtuous ones, a Bodhisattva practicing this Dharma neither exhausts the mundane nor stays in the supramundane. This is called the exhaustible and inexhaustible Dharma doors to liberation, which you should study. After hearing the Buddha expounding the Dharma, the visiting bodhisattvas were filled with joy and rained heavenly flowers of various colors and fragrances in the great chilakasam as offerings to the Buddha and his sermon. After this, they bowed their heads at the Buddha's feet and praised his teaching, which they had not heard before, saying,
"How wonderful is Sakyamuni Buddha's skillful use of expedient methods or upaya."
After saying this, they disappeared to return to their own land.